Hi, I'm Corey, or Arcane, or Dr. Isaac Cannon, but for those of you watching right now, the moniker that matters most at the moment is Gaslampsglow. Last week, an Anon asked me to take my bio and translate it into more modern terminology, which is difficult, and so I decided to show rather than tell. So, Corey, 28, Ohio. So far, so good. Barefaced, double shuffle, two-bit, thimble-rigger, conman, huckster, hoaxer, professor, emeritus, and above all else, storyteller. Now, I'll break this down idea by idea, but so that I am as clear, concise, and confident as possible, I'm of course going to start at the end and then go everywhere else. Professor Emeritus is a pun, and it means that I have no credentials whatsoever, and that there is no reason that you can, would, or should believe anything that I have to say. And if you send a barbershop quartet to collect my credentials, the only thing that I'll have to show them is this: a bachelor's degree for a school that doesn't exist in a subject that you cannot study in a name that is not mine. And that's because I'm a hoaxer, someone who perpetuates, creates, and publicizes hoaxes. Fakes, frauds, chicanery, quackery. Unlike my good friend Fairfax here, who is a genuine North American jackalope, one of the last of his kind, beautifully mounted on a mahogany stand. And if you're interested, I have 3 more just like him that I'd be willing to part with for $60 a piece. But it's just the 3. Do not wait. Act now. There's no time to stop and think about it. Time is of the essence. Opportunity comes this way but once, and that was a bit of hucksterism, or barking, or the hard sell. Or dare I say it, even a bit of humbug. And that's the purview of the con man. Now, if you don't know what a con man is, then I have a play to sell you. Or at least for you to invest in. It's the true story of yours truly, the how and why and what of who I am. And I want you to feel something akin to the electric thrill that I once enjoyed. When Ira Davenport, Oscar Diggs, Soapy Smith, and Phineas Taylor Barnum all came to town on the very same historic day, but that's another story, never mind. Anyway, we're finally at the part that you were honestly probably asking about in the first place, which is the barefaced double shuffle 2-bit thimble rigger. This is an appellation applied to Professor Harold Hill, the title character of The Music Man, which is a heartwarming story of how he heroically saves a small Iowa town from an infestation of pool tables using nothing but chutzpah and brass. And for you corn-fed rubes who weren't ruined for life as small children by being baptized in the patois of the 19-teen traveling salesman, barefaced is brazen, bold, and sans disguise. The double shuffle is a cheat, and it works like this. This is a deck of bicycle playing cards, the most popular brand in the world, manufactured for more than 100 years, less than a mile from where I'm standing here in Cincinnati, Ohio. This is, in fact, one of the last decks ever made at the original factory, which was made by one of my favorite architects. But other than that sentimental value and the fact that I like owning pieces of local history, there's nothing special about it whatsoever. It's 52 cards. You can find a pack just like it in your local gas station for about $2.50. But let's say that you are playing any card game, really, and so the Ace of Spades is a card of interest. Now, if you're the dealer, you start by knowing where the card is, and then you shuffle. And you're not going to do the riffle shuffle. That's the one that you're used to, where you take it and you split it into 2 halves, put them on the table, and then hold the corners and... No. That damages the cards like nobody's business. Nobody does it right. It will break the backs, it will bend the corners. Bridge players do it absolutely to death, which is why I can't stand bridge players. You're going to do the overhand shuffle, which is what I'm doing right now. It's old school and it's a little awkward, but it works just fine. And then, if you really want to, you can make sure that you've done a good job by taking the middle out of the deck and mixing it around. And so far, everything you've done has been completely above board. But your buffalo are starting to get a little homesick. And so you shuffle back the other way. And if no one's paying particular attention, everything that you are doing appears utterly and 100% legitimate. And that's the fun thing about this, is that you have been shuffling and mixing and making it appear that you are completely fair and honest. But meanwhile, you're still holding all the cards. Now, 2 bits is a shave and a haircut, which I could use. And it's also 2 cents, which I'm giving you, because it's cheap, cheap, cheap. And you can pick a little pickle if you pick it when you talk, but you've got to know the territory, and that leads us to thimble rigger. And a thimble rigger is someone who plays the game thimble rig. And thimble rig is the oldest trick in the oldest book, and I mean that. It was featured in that smash 1584 hit, The Discovery of Witchcraft, which today we know of as really the first how-to guide on stage magic. But it's even older than that, thimble rig. There are illustrations of it decorating the walls of ancient Egyptian burial chambers from somewhere in the vicinity of 2500 BC. It has been robbing people blind since Pericles. You can find it in every city in the world where it is just as illegal as it ought to be. It is also known as the shell game, or the cups and balls. If you know anything about the rules, you know that a rather important one is that you never ever play with clear plastic cups. And it works like this. You have, somewhere on a street corner, there is a guy standing with 3 small objects and a crowd around him, and he underneath each of these 3 small, underneath one of these 3 small objects, he has something even smaller, like a pea. And the objects he's normally moving as rapidly as he possibly can, and it's something like a thimble, that's the thimble part, or the shell, walnut shell for shell game. In a modern context, you may see anything that's small, cheap, hollow, easy to find everywhere, don't mind if you have to lose it, something like, say, a bottle cap. But we're not going to be playing with bottle caps and peas. We are playing with 3 large gold cups, and underneath one of these cups is a small gold ball. And this is where I would normally say, put your money down. Which one do you think it is, 1, 2, or 3? Now you might say that these cups were empty, you might put them down, and that's true, they were, but that doesn't mean that they still are. Follow the bouncing ball. And I'll make this even easier on you. I will put that in my pocket, keep it safe there, and I'll ask again, 1, 2, or 3. And you'll say again, hang on, normally they move these all around. Well, sure, okay. There, I moved it. That's all it is. When they're doing that, it's misdirection. It's attempting to convince you that they are playing a legitimate game, that if your eye is fast enough and you can follow their hand, that you can guess the right cup that the ball is under, but you can't because they're cheating, because there's never a version of this game where it's played fair, and I'll prove it. As a matter of fact, those of you who know a little bit more about this might have seen what I just did. I threw the ball up in the air, I caught it, I casually put my hand down here, I palmed it into this hand, pretended that I was putting that ball in my pocket, and when I made a big show of moving this cup back and forth, I slipped it under there, which, you would guess that, you'd be wrong. But you're not entirely wrong, because I put it here under cup number 3. That's how this works. I take your expectations, I convince you to bet on them, and then I subvert your expectations and I take your money. This is not a game about chance or probability. It's not about fairness. There's no version of this game where you win. There is no version of this game where a roll of the die determines the outcome. As a matter of fact, let's just get rid of that. And so we're back to square one. 1, 2, or 3. Now, if you weren't paying attention, you might say that the ball is here on number 3. You'd be wrong. If you were paying attention, you'd know that its last known location was here in cup number 2. You'd guess that, you'd still be wrong. Either way, I'd have your money. But if you really know how this sort of thing works, you would say that it's going to come full circle, and we'd end up right where we started here under cup number 1. Sorry. You can't win them all. As a matter of fact, you can't win any of them, because the ball never left my pocket. There was never anything in any of these cups, unless I wanted there to be. And so back to front, I think we've come around to the end again. And the only thing that's left is the most important, and that is storyteller. And I'll leave if I've earned that up to you.